Pressure is once again mounting on Rishi Sunak that could soon become a bit of a problem for him. Because why would you allow Suella Braverman back into your cabinet when you said that in your opening speech as Prime Minister that you wanted to rebuild trust, that this was a new beginning, that this was going to be a cabinet built of talent, not loyalty? And yet, Suella Braverman back in position as Home Secretary. But why was she there in the first place? Well, think about this from Rishi Sunak's point of view. From pure, a pure pragmatic standpoint, that if you want to try and unite your party, you have to at least pull different people from all these different groups in the Tory party into one cabinet. So someone has to come from the right. Someone has to come from there. And what position do you give them? Well, Liz Truss and effectively closed the Brexit Opportunities Office. And to be honest, it was done so because it just became too embarrassing, really, the fact that there were no Brexit opportunities. So what do the right really care about? Well, they really care about immigration. And who's responsible for that? Well, it's the Home Secretary. So why not just throw the right a symbolic, take the Home Secretary role, even though it's a very powerful role, which is also partly why I think she got it. That's why she was there. From a pure pragmatic point of view, I understand completely why he gave Suella Braverman the role. But why on earth would you choose Suella Braverman? You could have chosen anyone else from the right wing of the Tory party, and you chose her, especially after 6 days of apparently, well, not only just one ministerial breach, but apparently she has made multiple ministerial breaches, which is a very serious problem. And luckily, the opposition is having a bit of a field day, putting pressure on Sunak to explain this. And I think that this will, snowball even more, because I think if it is true that there has been more than one breach, then there's going to be calls for her to resign. And I think this puts a lot of pressure on him. And of course, if she goes, who do you put in place then? Do you bring in another person from the right wing of the party? Who do you bring in? Do you bring someone else in from a different group? The problem is that leaves that right wing party out in the cold. And if they're out in the cold, they're going to start to cause some problems for him. So this could get very, very interesting depending how this plays out. But I do not think Suella Braverman, shall we say, will be long for the position of Home Secretary. But before we go diving into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. So over we go today to The Guardian to have a look at this. Title of Ex-Tory Chairman Alleges Braverman Responsible for Multiple Breaches of Ministerial Code. Rishi Sunak's decision to reappoint Suella Braverman 6 days after she was forced to resign from a security breach is now facing fresh questions after the former chairman of the Conservative Party claimed the Home Secretary was responsible for multiple breaches of the Ministerial Code. And this was reported as soon as it was announced that she was coming back in. These reports started coming in more and more that, yeah, she's done this before, which is very, very worrying. Jake Berry, who sat in the cabinet alongside Braverman and at the heart of Liz Truss's government, said that she was responsible for a really serious breach after sending confidential information to private addresses and sending it to an MP, attempting to send to an MP's wife, and then accidentally sending it to a member of parliamentary staff. And that in itself is really worrying, because Braverman was apparently sending this to I can't remember the MP's name now, but he is sort of very much seen as the right-wing trainer. He sort of takes all the younger sort of right-wing MPs under his wing and sort of trains them up. So it's really worrying that she was sending confidential documents to this MP for either A, his approval, or something else could have been going on, which is why this definitely needs to be investigated fully. He's also indicated, as it continues, that the UK's most senior civil servant, Simon Case, had been consulted and rules that it had broken the rules. Sunak told MPs on Wednesday that Braverman had made an error of judgment and had recognised her mistake, adding that it was, quote, "This is why I was delighted to welcome her back into a united cabinet that brings experience and stability to the heart of government." But asked during Prime Minister's questions if officials had raised concerns about the appointment, and Case was said to have been furious, Sunak said that he had simply already addressed the issue. Um, Absolutely not. This is a case of this really needs to be looked at and what was really going on. And if she has made multiple quote mistakes and accidents like this, then she should not be Home Secretary. Speaking to Piers Morgan on Uncensored on Wednesday night, Berry said that there had been multiple breaches of the ministerial code after Braverman had sent documents to a confidant and fellow MP Sir John Hayes, which is, again, he's the guy who is very much responsible for training these people. But why are you sending these confidential documents to an MP? And I think she was sending it, from what I can at least make out all of this, basically for his approval from the right wing. And that's really weird. That's really weird, to be honest. Anyway, it was sent from a private email address to another member of parliament, he told Talk TV's Kate McCann. She then sought to copy in the individual's wife and accidentally sent it to a staffer in Parliament. To me, that seems a really serious breach, especially when the documents relating to cybersecurity, as I believe. That seems a really serious breach. The Cabinet Secretary has had to say at the time that I doubt he changed his mind in the last 6 days, but that is a matter now for the new Prime Minister. The Shadow Home Secretary, Vet Cooper, said that Berry's intervention was extraordinary and very serious, and highlighted Berry's comments about the cybersecurity breaches. Tweeting at the Prime Minister, she wrote this: "What security warnings did you ignore when you reappointed the Home Secretary?" Braverman's short time in the Home Office was also marked by a very hardline approach on a multitude of issues, including proposing to ban people entering the UK via small boats from claiming asylum. It emerged on Wednesday that more than 38,000 people have arrived in the UK after crossing the Channel in more than 900 boats just in 2022 to date, compared to 28,000 just last year. The clandestine Channel threat commander, Dane Olmoni, told the Commons Home Affairs Committee during the hearing that in 2021, the interception rate for the French police trying to get people to cross the Channel was around 50%, but this year it has dropped to 42%. He accepted that this was a lower percentage, but stressed it was, quote, much, much bigger number, telling how the French authorities had stopped over 28,000 migrants crossing the Channel and had intercepted and destroyed over 1,000 boats so far this year. The disclosure comes after Labour and the Liberal Democrats called for a Cabinet Office inquiry into the national security concerns after Braverman was reinstated. Number 10 refused to deny the officials had advised against reappointing her to the Office of State. Cooper then wrote to the case demanding an investigation and requested echoed by the Lib Dems Home Affairs spokesperson Alistair Campbell. The head of the FDA and the Senior Civil Servants Union, Dave Pellman, told The Guardian that the reappointment was set a very clear example of double standards, given that his members would face severe punishment for similar behaviour. And this is what's so confusing about this, because this is such an obvious win. I can't understand why you would choose it. As I said at the beginning, if you were going to build a cabinet of unity, why on earth would you take Braverman when you could pick any other of from anyone else from the right wing backbenchers and put them into that position? Why choose Braverman? But I don't know. It doesn't make sense to why you would choose her specifically. But like I say, I suspect now this will continue on, and this could rumble on and cause, I think, quite a big headache for Sunak for appointing her. So if a civil servant had acted in the way that Suella Braverman was alleging to, using private email accounts to send confidential government business to personal connections, they would rightly be expelled and face the harshest of penalties and lose their security clearance. Standards matter, and this is a clear appointment. For the appointment is ministers can act with impunity if it suits the Prime Minister. Labour leader Keir Starmer repeated during the PMQs that the deal had been done to try and soar up support from the hard right MPs who support Braverman. He's so weak, he's done a grubby deal trading national security because he was scared to lose another leadership election, Starmer said. Braverman then left the chamber just minutes before the debate on her conduct after Labour was granted an urgent question. Cooper said that there were many unanswered questions regarding Braverman's conduct. Is this the only time that she has done this, or has she shared other documents or other sensitive information? What security clearance has the Home Secretary been given? Does she still have access to the most sensitive documents and information? Did the Cabinet Secretary warn against her reappointment? So these are very serious questions, and questions the government should have to answer. So it does seem to me, as sort of, Starmer pointed out, this does seem to very much reek of a deal. But even then, if you were the right wing, why on earth would you put Braverman back in, knowing that she'd just broken the ministerial code? Um, mm, this doesn't sit good at all, to be honest. But replying for the government, the Paymaster General, Jeremy Quinn, was unable to say whether the Home Secretary had been given full security clearance. He did, however, say that the government would appoint a new independent ethics advisor. So at least that's something. There is a new independent ethics advisor. Probably the first person he's going to go after is Suella Braverman. Not surprising. But the real question is why is Suella Braverman sending confidential documents, confidential government information to essentially backbench MPs? And I get the feeling that she's sending it to these backbench MPs to try and get approval or maybe get their input into laws before it goes to sort of readings. And that is a very, very sneaky way for these right wingers in the Tory party to put their agenda into laws so that they don't have to debate them or sort of have votes if they want to put stuff into bills, when they can just get Suella to send them the documentation, write it in themselves, and then send them back. Um, yeah, it's very, very suspicious what's been going on here. It's very, very worrying that this information gets out because, again, what other types of documents has she been sending? How sensitive have these documents been? And this is certainly something that needs to be investigated. But as I said, I think this could become a massive headache for Rishi Sunak. And I think you're going to see potentially how strong this deal might be. Because if Suella Braverman really has been seen to have broken the ministerial code in, as it's been suggested, multiple ways, is she really going to stop now under Sunak? I very much doubt it. Um, but the more and more like she does this, the more and more she gets found out, the more pressure will get put on Sunak to let her go. But if she is there specifically, as was said, done to try and sort of secure his premiership, then Sunak may very well be very hesitant to actually cut her loose. Um, that in itself could cause a lot of problems and a lot of headaches for him. So we'll have to see how this goes, but I don't expect this to be ending anytime soon, to be honest with you. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, we'll see you all next time.